In the past, you know, Sarah, we've had here Robert de Villaine, Jean-Nicolas Méot, Philippe Talouin when he was still a Mouton, Thomas Giroux of Palmer, and a bunch of Italians, even Americans, and New Zealand people. So hopefully when travel will be able to resume, we'll be able to get you over here too. We'd love to have you here in Shanghai.
I would love that. Absolutely.
So let's begin.
Yeah, so anyways, thank you for being here with us, Sarah Huang. What we're talking about today is Domaine Huet, which people need to understand. A lot of the people who are listening to us are already very much aware, but it's really important to qualify Domaine Huet as the benchmark property of the Vouvray appellation in France. There are many very good Vouvray producers. It's an area blessed with really high levels of talent. There are many estates that work very well, but Huet is a trendsetter, the benchmark everybody looks up to, and everybody, there's just universal agreement on this. So we all talk about Petrus, we all talk about Latour, we all talk about Screaming Eagle or Harlan, but it's important to realize that a domain like Domaine Huet in Vouvray is really at the same exact quality level and makes unbelievably great classically dry wines, off-dry wines, and sweet wines. So we're very, very happy to have Sarah with us. And we're going to ask Sarah to tell us a little bit about the domain, which actually has a very long and distinguished history. The first thing I'm going to ask you, Sarah, because believe it or not, it's something I really haven't been able to figure out. Now, your dad, Anthony, when he bought the estate, he's Filipino born, even though based in America, and you're American businessman. So I don't know. Are you of Filipino origin? Are you Chinese? Because I've read that you're Chinese American, Filipino American. I mean, all I'm waiting to hear is that you're Italian now.
This is, first of all, I should, thank you for having me, and also thank you for the nice compliments towards the estate as we start. It's a lot of pressure, but hopefully we do our best to kind of live with it and continue what the Huet family started. Yeah, you continue to impress me with your knowledge.
Well, good, cool. It's always nice to impress.
We are, especially because we're a very we're quite discreet. I don't do many of these, so it really is a pleasure to be with you. We kind of call ourselves children of the moon in our family because it seems as though for the last 3-4 generations we've been on the move. So I was born in the United States on the East Coast. My parents were both born in the Philippines, and we're of Chinese and a little bit of Korean descent. Okay. So really, and today I live here in Vouvray, and my parents spend a lot of their time in Hungary, where we have another estate. So we continue to be on the move, but that's what makes it very exciting.
Perfect. And okay, I didn't want to steal your thunder, but I will ask you one last question, and that is, you were living in New York, one of the most happening hot cities in the world, and Indeed. You literally moved to Vouvray, so there must have been a real love for rural life. I mean, you didn't go to the Hamptons. That's what I'm saying. You didn't go to the Poconos.
No. I think that clearly our family is we're dreamers, and we kind of have had a tendency in general to kind of follow the signs of the universe, as hokey as that sounds. And so my arrival here to Vouvray has actually been quite fluid. I guess for those who have joined us, my family, we got our start on this side of the industry in Tokaj in Hungary in the mid-90s. And that was something that was bred out of just a love of wine. My parents were both collectors. And so wine was always part of our family's discussion and dinner table talk. But for a number of reasons, but probably the biggest one is my family is quite math and science based, and wine is something that combines almost every hard science and It is something that is just purely enjoyable. It's made to be shared. It's made to create memories, to come together to recount memories, and it's just purely something enjoyable. At the same time, you can learn and drink and read and listen to as many things as you can, and you really, at the end of the day, don't know very much, because the variables are always changing, and the conditions, especially today, are always changing. And so you can really dig as deep as you can, and there's always something new to discover. And I think that was something that, in wine, that's what really attracted both of my parents to that. We started an estate out in Hungary in the mid-90s. And I think it is actually important to mention, because there are parallels to what we do here in Vouvray. This region is Tokai. It's one of the oldest winemaking regions in the world, known for their incredibly complex and interesting sweet dessert wines. That's been their thing for hundreds and hundreds of years.
So we can say the estate is called Kiraliudvar, right?
It's called Kiraliudvar, exactly.
Okay. Oh, your Hungarian is way better than mine.
It's not that great, but I've spent quite a bit of time out there. I don't know. It's a difficult language all the same.
I'm sure.
And yeah, so the idea was we brought already planted vineyard sites. We partnered up with a local winemaker and kind of jumped in just like that, out of curiosity, out of passion, not knowing too much even about the business side of things, just wanting to make something, an asu, a 6 botonios asu that was extraordinary, where the vines were treated well, where chemicals weren't necessarily used, to see what that could be, and also explore the other wine types within Tokai.
Although don't be modest, the winemaker you partnered with is Ivan Sheppy, who's probably
our first winemaker was Istvan Szepsi, who's a very, very well-known and talented producer. So he was with us for a few years, and then he left to concentrate on his own label. And who followed him was Zoltan Demeter, who also I think it was in 2006, 2007, left to do the same, but also incredibly talented. And so we've been very, very lucky over the years, and it is kind of crazy how quickly time passes. It's been about 25 years now that we've been on this side of the industry, and it does not feel like that. But yeah, so we actually share the same importer in the United States as Domaine Huet. And we were lucky enough as a family to have the means. Gaston Huet, who I'll speak about in just a few minutes, he's kind of the patriarch of the estate, but a very important person in not just only in Vouvray, but kind of in the French wine system. He was 92 at the time in 2002, was looking for something to carry on his legacy. He had 3 children, none of whom were really involved. And I think that he saw that in our family, because here in Vouvray, the essence really of what Chenin can give us is in the sweeter styles. That's where the natural balance and the perfect place is for the wines, that we would respectfully carry on, that tradition and that legacy. So we became a part of Huet's story in 2003, officially. So it's been now almost 20 years. And I moved out here full time in January 2012 to look after the estate. And I had started kind of my experience. I needed some of my own experience in the industry and doing my own thing for a little bit, and then I joined up working full time for both wineries in about 2008.
Did you work at Acker Conduit and Merrill for a while or not? Am I wrong?
I did work at Acker, Merrill and Conduit. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. And Gaston Huet, you're right. I mean, that's something that's often forgotten. He held some really important posts in national French organisms, worked closely with the INAO, and he really had a major role in French
And
appellation.
establishing the appellation system.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he was mayor of Vouvray for something like 46 years, right?
Yeah, he was mayor of Vouvray from 47 to 89.
Yeah, and I remember those
the local
great
school
vintages.
is named after him. Here he's Mr. Gaston.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah, and you know what was so great about him is, going back to what you were saying about being a benchmark. I think that those sorts of labels are what other people can put on you, right? I think that all we can do, the vines have lived long before us and will hopefully live long after us. And we're just, vessels to help in the transition of their lives, really. And one thing that was kind of the best thing, I would almost say, and I think there are a lot of good things, but is that Gaston Huet was a visionary. Because, today we talk a lot about terroir. We talk a lot about, seeing each vintage. I mean, that's kind of our job, is to see and adapt each vintage through the lens of the terroirs, or vice versa. And our job is actually made quite easy because thanks to Gaston Huet. He, at a time when nobody was thinking about the soil and terroir and the personality of a parcel, really had that in mind. So we have 30 hectares total. All of it is Chenin Blanc because that's what Vouvray produces. And it's split between 3 different fields. Old Lieu was the original parcel. It was 5.5 hectares when the Huet family purchased it in 1928. That's grown to about 15 hectares. Then we have Clos du Bourg added in 1953 and Le Mont added in 1957. So Old Lieu is kind of this really nice, rich, brown, pure clay. I think, the type of clay that I think a lot of people play with when they're little and kind of mold animals and then, leave out to dry.
Sure.
So it's that. So it's really, really vibrant. There's just the purity of Chenin Blanc that comes out. Clos du Bourg has that same brown clay, but it's very shallow. The maximum depth there is about 1 meter. Before it hits the limestone, the tuffeau that Vouvray is so famous for. So because of that, it's also quite chalky. So the chalk absorbs the sunlight. It's still surrounded by its clos, the wall. It's on the coteau. It's on the first level, right next to the Loire. And so Clos du Bourg has this really nice, powerful, broad expression. Almost, you would even say, like just a lower tone, but really silky and cool. And then Le Mont, just a few hundred meters to the east of Clos du Bourg, is a very, very compact green yellow clay, super dense, with silex, with flint stones scattered throughout. So the flint deflects the sunlight. So it's naturally a bit cooler. There's more tension maybe in the wine. There's a very, very straight, direct, spinal. I'm thinking in French. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, fine. Sure, no, you're doing great. You're doing great.
And so and that really does translate not just in the wine, but in the juice as well. Before anything ferments, we're seeing that more and more.
So Sarah, let's give maybe Gaujang a chance to maybe translate a few things. The
Sure.
gist of what you said, and then we'll go back to it, is that the estate was founded in 1928 by Victor Huet, who owned a bistro, right? And
he was a cafe owner in the city, and he was told by his doctors that he needed to move to the countryside because he had developed lung problems.
Right.
And so they were going up the road on which the wine, where the winery is today, La Croix-Brisée. And at the top, they came across the manor of Old Lieu. And at the time, there were all of these really beautiful pink, red, white wildflowers called cyclamens. And Madame Huet, Constance, in fact, said, I have a really good feeling about this place. I think that this is where we should move.
Sure.
And so with the agreement of their son Gaston, who was 18 at the time, that he would help in this next career of viticulture, they made the big move.
Absolutely. Goshen, tu veux traduire quelque chose? Ou...
Sure. But before translate, maybe I have a question for you, because I'm very curious to understand why your family will have states both in Tokai and also in Vouvray. Yes.
Do they
They're
like sweet?
not people's automatic places to go. Absolutely. If that's if I'm hearing what you're asking.
Unless they like sweet wines.
Well, it's not just sweet wines, you know, it's wines that are dynamic, with good balance and acidity.
Sure,
I think acidity in wine is important. They're both regions where there's fantastic ageability, and they're actually quite different. While today the lineup of wines that are coming out of both regions are very similar, the personality and the character of the two, of Vouvray and of Tokai, are quite different. And so really it's just the love of wine and the passion for it. We've never been the types to follow what other people do and what's popular. It was really just a passion thing. There was a lot of Chenin growing up on the dinner table. There was also a lot of Riesling, and just as both regions can make dessert wines, sweeter styles off dry styles, there's also great minerality and longevity for the drier and the sparkling. So I don't know if it's just one thing, but it's just the fun also of it's always changing. Our production is always changing. It never is stagnant. It's never like we're going to get X number of bottles from this parcel. We have no idea, and it keeps us on our toes.
Cool.
So you're always having to think.
Sure.
Yeah.
So